Hello everyone, welcome back to EduTap. I hope you're doing well and preparing well for your exams. Today we'll be discussing a very important topic of management which was recently added in the syllabus of RBI Grade B, that is ethics, and today we'll be covering what are the branches of ethics. So you basically need to understand that RBI brought this concept into the syllabus in the year 2021, and there was a descriptive question from this section in the same year, and in 2022 there was an objective question on the same. So now that you know that regularly there has been questions from these topics, you can understand how important this chapter as a whole is, and it has a wide huge chances that there can be questions from this chapter further as well. So today we'll be discussing specifically what is ethics and the branch of ethics. So before beginning the session, if you are new at EduTap, I have a very good news for you that we at EduTap are presenting a comprehensive guidebook for RBI Grade B and SEBI Grade A, which would be providing you with the answers of all the common queries in a definitive manner. What are these common queries? These common queries are about the hierarchy of the organization, the role of the organization in the economy. Not just that, the syllabus, the resources which you should follow, the cutoffs which were prevailing, the perks which you would receive once you join the organization. All of them is provided in this guidebook, and this guidebook is absolutely free of cost. So it is a must for you to download, and you can download the same from the description link given below. Moreover, if you are new at EduTap, do press the bell icon to receive latest updates on various regulatory body examinations, and do join our Telegram channel to receive the PDFs of all the sessions which are being conducted. The link of the Telegram channel is also given in the description section. So let us begin today's session. So before beginning today's session, let me tell you the name of the people who answered the questions of corporate social responsibility yesterday correctly. It was Nadeem, it was Monica, Priya. These people answered the question correctly. So now let's begin the session. So today what we'll be talking about? Today we'll be talking about the concept of ethics. See, firstly, you need to keep in mind that the concept of ethics is quite broad in nature, and you need to understand what does this word actually mean. See, ethics was derived from a Greek word which is known as ethos. And what does this Greek word ethos means? It simply means customs or character. Keep in mind, it means character or customs. So this term ethos was presented, or it was used by Aristotle. When did he use this term? He used this term in his famous book Rhetoric, wherein he said that ethos is one of the three means. For what? It is the three means of effective modes of persuasive communication or speech. So that is where the word ethos got its popularity from. So when I say that the word ethos means character or custom, what do I simply mean? See, ethics simply means that it is the beliefs or ideas about a society. And these ideas provide us guidance on how should we behave. So if I put it in simple words, what is ethics? See, ethics is a guiding belief which would answer three important things. The first thing, that what is good or bad. The second thing, what is acceptable or unacceptable behavior. And thirdly, what is the, any action, whether it is obligatory or forbidden in nature. So in simple words, ethics is going to provide me the direction on how I am supposed to behave. Okay, so now that you have generally understood, let us see what it exactly talks about. Ethics, you can say that talks about these five things. The first thing which it talks about is whether what is right or good human conduct. Okay, so when I say good human conduct, see, what do I mean by good human conduct? When I say good human conduct, I simply mean that whatever actions I am taking is firstly satisfactory, and moreover, you need to keep in mind that my actions, are not creating any hindrance, or my actions are not, causing any trouble directly or indirectly to others. And when I say others, who are these others? These others are the stakeholders. Now, who are the stakeholders? Those people who would be directly affected by my action, let it be directly or indirectly. All those things come under the ambit of good human conduct. Okay? Now, the second thing which you can think of when I say ethics, it is the science of idea involved in human life. See, when I say idea or ideal, what do I mean? See, ideal is nothing but any action which I as a human being, pursue above anything else, which means any action which I'll be pursuing above anything else would be known as an ideal or an idea. Now, the third question which can be answered using ethics, or you come to know, is the science of moral judgment. See, when I say moral judgment, the first thing which you need to keep in mind is first, what is moral? See, moral is something which is personal. Okay? So, it is my viewpoint about what is right or wrong. And when I say moral judgment, I simply mean that how good I am in judging what is good or bad. So let's say there is a situation wherein there are two types of outcomes, one which is helpful and one which is harmful. So if, let's say, I am a good judge, I am a good moral judge, then I would be easily able to differentiate between the good and the bad outcome. Apart from this, ethics also speaks about the concept of moral as a whole, and it helps us to study the general nature of moral and the specific moral choices, which means I as an individual make what moral choices. So this is what ethics in broad term is. So what is ethics? If I say quickly, it is about someone's character or custom. So it tells us how to behave in a particular situation. So now that we have understood what is ethics, let us understand why does the problem of ethics occur in any organization. See, when we are working in an organization daily or on day-to-day basis, we face lot of dilemma. So what are those ethical problems? We'll understand them one by one. Now, the first reason why there is this problem of ethical conduct arises. See, when I say ethical conduct, what did I say? My actions should not harm others directly or indirectly, and it has to be satisfactory in nature at the same time. So the first reason because of which there is ethical conflict is the reason of personal gain and selfish interest. See, let's take an example wherein in an organization there is a manager or there's an employee who places his personal interest above the interest of the organization, or let's say above the interest of the customers or the clients as a whole. Let's say he is greedy, he is more interested in earning money and not in the welfare of the organization and welfare of the people. In that case, there is conflict of ethical beliefs. So this is the first reason. What is the second reason? The second reason is competitive pressure on profit. When I say competitive pressure on profit, you just think of a situation. Let's say there is an organization or a company. Let's say it has a poor profit making condition or its balance sheet is weak. Now, when it sees that its peer companies are making huge amount of profit, or let's say they are doing good, so what does this company do? It already has a lot of pressure. It is answerable to its shareholders. So now what would this company do? It will, try to follow unethical means to raise profits. And again, when a company chooses certain mode of unethical action, what would happen? There would be conflict of ethics. Okay. Now, what is the third reason? The third reason of ethical conflict is business goals versus personal goals. See, when I say business goals versus personal goals, I simply mean that there are a lot of organizations, which have certain goals or agendas which do not match with the employees' goals or agendas. So in that case, again, there will be a conflict which would be arising in the organization. And whenever there is a conflict, what does happen? Firstly, it affects the overall process of the work, and also eventually the company as a whole gets bad reputation. So this is the third reason. Now let's move ahead and understand the next reason. The next reason is that, it is the top management who sets a good example. What do I mean by top management? See, in an organization, people who are posted at a higher hierarchy, who are those people? Let's say the CEO of the company, or let's say the financial officer, or let's say any vice president. All these people, if let's say these people are unethical themselves, which means they themselves promote actions which are obligatory in nature, or forbidden, some not obligatory, actually that is bad, or which is forbidden. If these people promote such actions, what would the people in lower order think? They will not understand the importance of ethical action, and again they'll also follow the same lines. So it depends on the top management about how they portray ethics as a whole. Okay? What is the next reason? The next and the last reason for ethical conflict is unclear policies of an organization. What do I mean by unclear policies of an organization? See, there are a lot of issues which need immediate action in an organization if there is certain issue which is arising, and each and every company provides set of rule of conduct, or how certain people should behave if the situation is conflictory in nature. But let's say there is a company which does not provide a person that how you are supposed to act in a given situation. Let's say there is harassment of women in an organization, and the company does not lay down proper rules that what is the women employee supposed to do. In that case, when the rules are not clear, there results a conflict of ethics. So, to recapitulate, you just have to remember two things about ethics. First, that ethics consists of two things. First, set of moral principles, and secondly, the role of conduct. See, what did I say? What was ethical conduct? It is again a behavior, or my actions as a whole should not affect others, and it somehow has to be satisfactory at the same time. So now that we have understood what is ethics in general, now let us move ahead and understand the branches of ethics. See, the first branch of ethics is the descriptive ethics. Now when I say descriptive, you have to keep in mind it is also known as value-free approach of ethics. And what does this type of ethics tell you? It, simply you have to keep in mind when I say descriptive, it speaks about people's viewpoint. Keep this key term in mind, people's viewpoint. So each of us have a different viewpoint about different situations. Now let's, if you want to understand it in a better manner, think of a situation like abortion. Now there are few countries who feel that abortion is ethical, and yet at the same time there are few countries which feel abortion is not ethical. So my viewpoint, or a society's viewpoint about certain thing, is known as descriptive ethics. So let's say, for example, the process of abortion itself is legal in Indonesia, yet let's say the process is illegal in Philippines. So this difference in the viewpoint, their personal viewpoint, is known as descriptive ethics. So you just have to remember the key term, a person or a group of people's viewpoint. Okay? The next type of ethics is normative ethics. When I say normative ethics, I simply mean what is ought to be and what is ought not to be. Okay? Ought to be and not ought to be. This is what normative ethics says. Descriptive ethics was telling the viewpoint, and this is telling what has to be, ought to be, and what is not ought to be. Now, this normative ethics is further divided into three types. The first type is deontological ethics, the second is teleological, and the third is virtue ethics. Now, let us understand three of them one by one. The first concept, that is deontological ethics. Now let us break this word. The word deon means duty. It is a Greek word deon. It simply means duty. See, when I say deontological ethics, you have to simply remember it speaks about my action. It is ultimately my action which is going to decide whether I acted in an ethical manner or not. And there is a very famous saying when I say duty, that duty does not look into a fact that whether activity is beneficial or pleasant. It is more about the duty being obligatory itself. Keep this in mind, that it is not about the benefit, it is about the complete or obligation. So when I say deontological ethics, what can be a best example? Firstly, it depends on my action. Consider an example where you are duty bound, that you are not supposed to cheat your spouse. Okay? It is, even if you like someone else, just take an example, you are duty bound that you are not going to cheat them. It is the action. Let's say if I cheat my spouse, eventually I become unethical. My happiness or my choice is not given importance here. It is my action based on which my overall process would be termed as ethical or unethical process. Now, the next concept is teleological ethics. Now, before going into teleological ethics, keep in mind that deontological ethics is also known as Kantian ethics at times. Why this name? Because this concept was given by Immanuel Kant. That is why it is also known as Kantian ethics. Now, the next type of ethics is known as teleological ethics. Again, the word teleological can be broken into two parts. What are these two words? The first word is telo. Now, what does this word telo mean? Again, telo is a Greek word. It means end results. So what can you conclude from this meaning? It simply means that if my end results create happiness for me, agar I take up any work and the end result is happiness, then that kind of work can be considered as ethical activity in case of teleological ethics. Why? My end result is positive. So you can take a very simple example here. Let's say there is a government which is promoting certain kind of drugs. Okay? Now the government knows that this drug is beneficial for the people, but somewhere it has some side effects which can harm certain people. But still it is promoting this drug. Why is this government promoting the drug? Because it knows that the end result is a huge mass of people are going to be benefited from this drug. So that kind of action, that even after knowing that it has certain side effects, the government is still promoting the drug, those kinds of action would be termed as ethical. Why? Because it is giving lives to people. So what can you simply conclude here? You can simply conclude that those actions which provide a good effect or produce a good result for masses, that kind of actions would be termed ethical here. Okay? So here it is not about justice or my ultimate intention. It just simply means that the ultimate result or the end result was a happy result. So all those kinds of results would be termed as ethical in nature. If you want to take another example, let's say you can say that there's a patient in a hospital. Let's say there's a patient A. Now let's say he is in coma. Now the doctors say that there are very few chances that this patient would live ahead. Okay? And there are, let's say, 3 patients, B, C, D. Let's say these 3 patients are suffering, let's say, from a kidney failure, liver failure, or someone has some eye related issue. Now the doctor feels that he can use this person as, body parts and provide these 3 people with life. And let's say the family members of A say that, okay, we don't want to see my, relative suffer, and you can go for mercy killing. Now, what would the doctor do? Okay, he's going to go for mercy killing, but again, by using his organs, he is going to provide lives to these 3 people. So ultimately, his action of mercy killing would not be looked as an unethical practice. Why? Because he has provided life to these 3 people. So this is how simple is teleological ethics. What is it? The end result. Keep in mind, the end result has to be positive. The intentions or the justice aspect does not matter. Lastly, the third type of ethics under normative ethics is virtue ethics. See, what do I mean by virtue? When I say virtue, it is an individual's personal choice about, being ethical or not. So you can, the best example which you can say here is the example of a doctor. See, a doctor is going to treat the patient irrespective of his caste, his gender, or his profession. Let's say there's a criminal, okay, who goes to the doctor. He is not going to, deny him that, I'm not going to treat you. No, he is going to treat him because it's his, oath that he is not going to reject the patients. So this is what virtue is. It is about a person's individual choice about, what is ethical. So you can give example of, let's say, humiliation here. Let's say there's someone who is humiliating me. It is my capacity or it is my consciences where I even choose to help the person again even after feeling humiliated. Why? Because I feel that the person has to, needs the help. So all those kinds of action which depend, on me personally or an individual as a whole is known as virtue ethics. So I hope these 3 things are clear to you till now. So let's move ahead and understand the next type of ethics, which is known as meta ethics. See, as I said you, what is ethics? It helps you to differentiate between what is good and what is bad. But what happens in meta ethics is that, it tells you the reason why an action is unethical. So what is happening here? Beyond telling what is good or bad, or whether an action is ethical or unethical, meta ethics is going to tell you about why an action is termed as ethical and why an action is termed as unethical. So you can take an example of, traffic rule breaching. What happens here? The act of breaching traffic rules is said to be unethical. Now, what does meta ethics do? It gives you the reason why it is unethical. So why breaching traffic rule is unethical? Because it, costs your life. There can be accidents. Or let's say you can take another example. A person feels that he has turned into a vegan. Let's say there's a person who chose to be vegan. So meta ethics, according to meta ethics, it is not about just about his action being ethical or not. It will tell you that why this person turned into a vegan person, because he felt that life of animals is important. Okay. So this is what simply meta ethics is. It goes beyond the answer of something good and beyond answering something between good and bad. It gives you the reason that why something is unethical. And lastly, we'll speak about applied ethics. Now, what is applied ethics? See, there are a lot of situations, or let's say there are a lot of dilemmatic situations which each of us face in our regular lives. So by using the principle of ethics, we solve lot of contradictory or problematic issues. Those kind of, ethics is known as applied ethics. You can, classify applied ethics again into the following types. The first one is bioethics, the second is environmental ethics, social issues, and administrative issues. Now let us firstly understand what is bioethics. When I say bioethics, the term itself is quite evident. What is the term bio? It means every ethical action which is related to biology as a whole. You can take the example of abortion again. Why? Few people might feel abortion is ethical, few might feel that it is not ethical. So these kinds of actions which are related to biology as a whole. If you want to take another example, you can take example, the information of your, let's say, your personal data. You fed some data in the government portal and the government portal has been hacked and the information is leaked. That means your personal information is being leaked. That is an unethical action. Leaking of your personal data. This is what bioethics is. Now, when I say environmental ethics, what do I mean by environmental ethics? I simply mean that environmental ethics is not just going to consider human beings in the ambit of ethics, but it is also going to include animals in the ambit. Okay? It is going to include animals in the ambit of ethics as well. So what is an example of this? That you should not be cruel towards animals. Or let's say you should not cut trees. All these things come under environmental ethics. So a person who is harming animal can be termed as unethical. Or let's say there's a person who is constantly cutting trees. He can be termed as unethical. Now the next type of ethics is social issues related ethics. So what is ethics related to social issue? The social issues which we face in our day-to-day lives. That is what is known as social issue related ethics. What can be a good example here? Let's say the concept of intercaste marriage. Okay? A lot of people feel that intercaste marriage is not ethical. A few people feel that it is okay. All these things can come under social issue. Or let's say gender discrimination. This can also come under the example of social issue. And lastly, the fourth type of ethics is the administrative issue related ethics. See, what can be the example of administrative issue? The issues which we face on the administrative level. You can take the example of, when there is a government who decides to, encroach the house of poor people. Why is it encroaching? It wants to build a smart city. So whether the government should encroach the property or not, that decision would come under the ambit of administrative issue. Or let's say there is a builder, okay? There is a builder who wants to buy large acre of land, and that large acre of land, is owned by a group of poor people. And why does he want to buy that? He promises him that I'll make a place, I'll make a good mall, or let's say I'll make good, apartments for you. So his decision of, taking the land from people, and that action all those actions in general would come under administrative issue. So this is what are the total branches of ethics. So there are two important things which you have to always remember. What does ethics actually mean? It is a broad term, so you always have to remember that it is speaking about a character, and it provides us with what? Guiding beliefs. Keep this word in mind always. Guiding beliefs. And moreover, since this chapter has been newly added into the syllabus, in 2021 there was a descriptive question. In 2022 there was an objective question in phase 2. So the scope is quite huge. So you cannot miss this chapter. So do not, avoid any topics right now. Okay? So I just hope you enjoyed the session as a whole. If you have any queries, do let me know about the same in the comment section. And if you want to reach out to us, you can call us on the given number, or you can mail us on the given mail ID. So prepare well. All the best. Thank you.